Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do something different. I know that I've been doing a few flowers that I've already done before, but they're in flexible flower paste, but I thought I'd have a change today and do a new flower that I haven't done before with the flexible flower paste. So I'm going to take you down to my board and I'll explain what I'm doing. So the flower that I'm going to do today is a Lisianthus. Now I haven't coloured these, I'm doing two different types. There's a single variety, which is this one here, and then you've got the double variety, which is this one here. So I'm going to try and attempt to show you both, so I hope you don't get too bored watching this, because it could be quite a long video, because there are a lot of different elements to both of these, but I'm making this one simpler without doing the centre, because when it's at this stage you can't see the centre unless you want to do it later on, where you'll do it the same as this. So get rid of those. They haven't been coloured yet, so that will come out later on. So what I'm going to start off by doing is doing the centre part first, which is this part here, which is your stamen or stigma. I'm just going to shorten that a bit. I've got that one a bit too long. The advantage with the flexible flower paste, if you decide to alter it, you can do. So what I need to do to that first of all is I'm going to start off by making the first part first. Let's do things in the right order. I'll have to cut another wire. So I'm starting, because it's a flower that's all on one stem, I'm doing the same as I would with roses and using a 20 gauge wire. And I find one. And it looks like I've run out. Hang on. Have I got... No, I haven't. I've got some there. No, that's not 20 gauge. Just bear with me a second. No, those are thicker wires. They've got into the wrong place. They're 18 gauge wires. So I don't know what they're doing in there. No, that's an 18 gauge wire. Hang on, I found something. I found a 22 gauge wire, that'll do. No, that's a 20 gauge wire, that's got in the wrong hole. Right, so it doesn't mean I have to go downstairs and get some more wires. Me being well prepared as per usual. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wire into 3 to start off with. That's 1. 3. Don't bend your wire. I have got cut through the wire here, it's just the stem text that's over it that I'm bending there, so don't bend your wires unless you have to. Right, for the first one, for this part, I want the wire to be straight. So I've got some pale green paste in here that I've already got ready. So I need a small piece of paste. This is all done with the flexible paste. You can do it, it's exactly the same if you're using normal flower paste. So just a matter of starting a small sausage to start off with. Get that onto your wire. Now it'll depend on what kind of paste, I've mentioned this before, that you're using. This is quite sticky, so I don't need any glue on, but if it's a sort of paste where you find you've got leaves and petals and things coming off your wire, then put a bit of glue on your wire first before you do this, and then start to roll it. Now we need this to be practically as thin as the wire, so you're going right down to the wire, so it's just barely covering it. Don't worry about how far down you've gone, you can cut that off when you've finished. Just roll it down for now. And when you get to that point, if you roll it this way with your finger upright like that, you can get it more even up your wire, like that. So I'm going to take some off the top there. I'm going to leave a little bit there. Now that needs to be a bit shorter, so it wants to be about, take half of that off, so I'll take about that off. better to be too short than too long. Let's roll that again. And then if you get it between your two fingers and then just push that piece of spare paste down like that, then you've got something to glue the next part onto. So you've got a bit like a lily but smaller, like an anther cap. Just pop that down there. So I've got a small piece of paste here. Just bring my camera up a little bit this way so you can see what I'm doing. Roll that into a little sausage. You don't want to be too long. That's about as long as you want. Now get something like a cell stick or something like that. Where's my cell stick gone? Probably rolled down there somewhere. It's here somewhere. I know it is because I had it. Anyway, anything that's round. So I'm going to use that and go into the middle of it and just rub that like that. So basically you're making a, I don't know whether you can see that or not, if I put it onto this white pad, if I try and do it on here, it's better doing it on your hand, but if you can do it, I'm doing it on here so you can see what I'm doing. So if you roll it like that, now that side is a little bit bigger than the other side, so I'm just going to take a little bit off of that and just roll that a little bit on that side. That's better. So I've got it more even now. So if I lift that up to the camera, you can see that you've got that, we'll call it a dog bone idea. Right, so once you've done that, then you want either your smallest bone tool or something with a small rounded head. I've got the smallest end of the dog bone tool. So if you've got these kind of ball tools, you usually get the sets with 3 in, and then you've got all the different sizes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push that into each side like that. So that's hollowed out. If I lift that up to the camera, a little bit of a point on that side, so I'm just going to gently push that in. Same on that side, so it's a bit more rounded. And then what I'm going to do then is I'm going to turn that over like that. Then if you get your wire that you've put your paste on, then put some glue just on the top part there that you've just flattened down, and then go down into the centre of that like that. So that's attached to your top there. You can just play around with that just to get it as you want it. So that is now at that stage. So at this point you need to put that to dry. So we'll get rid of that. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make the stamens. So if I show you one of the flowers again, you can see the stamens in there. They're not bought stamens, these are made stamens. Wherever you can, if you can make your own stamens, then you're much better off doing that. I've got some dust on there off my pad. I'll just get that off my petal. Right, so I'll put that back to one side. So how I'm going to make the stamens is I'm using some 30 gauge wire. Either 30 or 32 will do, but I'm using white wire. One side, get to that side, there we are. And one wire will do all of your stamens. I'm only going to do one because I've already got some that are dried. So I'm just going to take you through the stages with one piece of wire. But what you need to do now is, where's my wire cutters gone? They'll do. Use those kind. Cut that in half. Put those together. Didn't make a right good job of that, did I? And then cut that into 3. They don't need to be very long. So you've got 2, 6. I haven't got any in my garden of these, so I'm doing this from looking at pictures online. There's plenty of sites that you can go on to that I've mentioned before, but if anybody who's watching that hasn't watched any of my other videos, if you go on to Shutterstock or Photographer's Direct or somewhere like that, you just put in whatever kind of flower it is and loads of flower pictures will come up of whatever it is that you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing, there's pictures of everything on there. And because you're not buying them, you can study the flowers on there. You don't have to buy them, you can do that for free. I have printed them off there, off Photographer's Direct, and there's been no cost to doing it, so if you want to print them off so you've got something to work to, you can. Right, so what we need now is we need some Tylo powder, which I've got some here in a little tub. And then you want some pollen, which I've told you how to make this before, but for anybody who's watching that hasn't watched before, all this is ground rice or semolina mixed with some yellow powder colour. And you can make all your own pollens up for pennies rather than spending £2 odd for a little tub. This has been lasting me for years, and it takes forever to use it up. I don't have to keep making lots of this. I've only got a small amount. In fact, it could go in a smaller tub actually. You might well say that, but it's just what I had at hand when I made it. Right, so what I'm going to do is get your glue, dip your wire into the glue, and then into the Tylos powder. Now it's not showing up very much at this particular point in time, so what I would do is to leave that to one side, do all your wires, then dip it again into your glue, and then back into your Tylo powder, and then you've got more of a build up there of the powder on your wire, and then into your glue again, and then into your pollen. I haven't quite done that right. Hang on. I haven't got enough on. There we are. That's better. So there we are. You've got your stamen now. So if I put that against my hand so you can see that. So you need 6 of those per flower. Just pop that into my foam. Get rid of that. So that's your stamens made. Now what you could do before you do your stamens is to do a piece at the bottom. Now you need something to attach your petals to, because we're not wiring the petals on this one. Just get those out of the way. Remove my glue for a minute. So what I need now is another small piece of paste, about the size of a marrowfat pea. And then put some glue just at the base of your pistol there. Pop your wire into the paste, then up your wire to the base of there, and then just secure that round there. Now it is better if you leave this to dry. I forgot to put this on last night, so I'm going to have to use it from no, I've done that the wrong way, sorry, beg your pardon. Take that off. I need to attach my stamens first before I do that, so I mean it's not going to fall off when I put the petals on. So if I get all my stamens, oops, not stuck to my hand. I did this yesterday when I was making the flower up. I was getting a bit carried away there. Right, so I've got some now green tape here. This is cut into half width. So find out which is your sticky side, that side. So we'll turn that over. Get that round your wire, like that. Start that off on your wire and push that up underneath the paste there. Round again, and then start putting your stamens in. So what you want to do is you want the head of the stamens to be just below that top piece there. Now you can, if you want to, dust these with some green, light green colour, lime green or tropical lime, which is the lighter one of the two limes. And what you need to do is to add these stamens round your centre like that. Try and get them even if you can. Don't matter if you don't, because you can space them out once you've got all your stamens taped in. But keep them level. Right, so once you've got those taped in, then just tape down. Make sure your tape doesn't get twisted. Right, so next thing to do then is to get a pair of tweezers if you've got them to hand, and then just pull your stamens out. Just a little bit like that. Bit like an umbrella spoke. Unlike doing a lily centre where you've got your piece at the bottom with the grooves in, you don't have that with this because we put that piece on afterwards. We'll call it the ovary. Like that, and if you just have a look round and see if you've got them all spaced, it should look a bit like umbrella spokes, evenly spaced out like that. So now I can put the base on. So a bit of glue around the base there. Wire into your paste. Pull it up until it gets to just the base of the stamens, and then just roll that in like that. So that's well attached to your wire. Okay, now it's a good idea if you leave that to dry. I'm not doing that because I'm going to move straight on with it, but what I am going to do is I'm going to put that to one side for a minute, and I'm going to show you how to make different types of buds. So I'll just pop that over there. Now there's two different types of buds. There's the small green ones, and then we've got these here where the colour's showing on the petals. So I'll start off with the green ones first because I've got the green paste there. That's a bit big. I'm going to make a smallish bud. The only thing I'm not doing with these is the leaves, for the simple reason that when you buy them in the shops you generally come without the leaves on. But if you want to do the leaves, they're sort of like rounded at the bottom up to a point with a simple veining. So if you did want to do some leaves with it, then you could do, but I haven't had time to do any. So, and you've seen me do plenty of leaves before. You make them the same way as you do with anything else. Right, so I'm going to use, have I got any wire here that I can use? Let's have a look. Oh, just found a 20 gauge wire that I was looking for, that I couldn't find. See if I've got any in my little bits and pieces here that I can use. That's a bit thin. What's that one? I'll use this one. Start off with your ball of paste, then make a hook on the top of your wire, like that, into the ball of paste. Similar to a lot of other buds that you make, the only difference with these is it's the way that the petals go on them. And then bring that up like you would if you were doing a rose centre. Roll that round to get that into a point, like that, to get your bud shape. And then if you get your cutting wheel, there it is. And then I'm just going to go make 3 grooves into it. 1, 2, then get in between the others 3, like that. And you're guessing on doing this, so it doesn't matter if you're not accurate. And then just get the top and then just twist it round like that, so it goes round in a twist. Okay, so that's the small buds. Now when you get on to making the buds for the flower, I'll do it with some pink paste because I've already got that made up. I'm going to start off with a slightly larger ball of paste, about the size of a Malteser. And I'll use a 20 gauge wire for this because these are a little bit heavier and they'd be the same thickness as the stem on the flowers then. Put your hook on top, wire into your paste, like that. And then again, shape your paste up like you would for the centre of a rose, like I've just done with that smaller bud. I'm just going to push that down and squash that in, make it a bit fatter. And there's a reason for that which you will see in a minute. Now the petals go round in a spiral, so what you're going to do here is, you probably, any of you ladies that are watching will probably be able to do this a bit better because you've got smaller fingers than me. What you need to do now is to pinch your paste out at the side like this and pull that out there, then go around and do another one. So you've got two there. Let's just squash that one a little bit. Just go in and do that again. Bit more. Don't matter if it's not too neat, don't worry about that. And then up there. So I'm doing it on three sides. Only because it's difficult to get more in. There are actually 5 petals on them, but and then like I did with the try and get that further up to the top. That's why you want it a little bit thicker at the top, because you're going to go right up to the top with each of these petals to pull that out like that. Right, and so then again you get the top, get your fingers in between and then just twist it round like that. Just go down your bud and pull your petals round like that. So you get that sort of spiral effect with it. Then put those to one side to dry. So we'll put that over because that's already dry. Right. Now then, I'm going to carry on with the double one to start off with. So I think I've already got a centre here somewhere. There it is, yeah. So you need to make a rose centre, a small one, for the double Lisianthus. And I've just found my cell stick that I was looking for. It's there right under my eyes. Typical. So I'm going to start off by putting some white fat on my board. And then start rolling your paste out. You need to get it as thin as you can. Might need to make some more up for this. See how we go on. Now I'm using rose cutters for these because I haven't got a cutter for a Lisianthus. So if you haven't got the correct cutters, it doesn't matter, just use a rose petal cutter. So I'm using 2 sizes for these flowers. I've got 2 here, the big one and the small one. That one I'm using for the single flowered variety. For the double one I'm using the slightly smaller one. So you want to cut out 3 petals. 2, 3. Like that. There we are. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to have to make some more pink up to do this, but never mind. So where's me palette? Where it is? Is that it? No. I've got somewhere. I've got my little palette knife. And find what I've done with it. It's usually hiding underneath something when I find it. I should get everything sorted out before I start, and I've made the same mistake every time I do a video. There we are, got it. Right, so I'm just going to lift the petals up, put it onto my hand with the point facing away from it. I'm just doing it on the ball of my hand here. Get your silk veining tool into the centre and roll out, stretching your paste one way, then into the middle again and roll it out the other way, like that. Then when you've done that, take that off the heel of your hand and then get it onto the side of one of your fingers, and then on the very edge, again with your silk veining tool up in the air, then do little sections. Roll, tick it off because it will stick to your finger, and roll another section. I am getting some splits in here, but don't worry about that. As I keep saying, there's nothing perfect in nature. If you go out in your garden, you'll find petals eaten all the time. I just planted some lupins in my garden and the slugs got at them. Nearly lost all the flowers on one of them. So I had to put loads of slug petals down, even though I've got beer down from beer traps. Right, so once you've done that, I'll just put that onto my white pad so you can see that. You can see that I threw the edge. We'll just pop that to one side and do that with each of your petals. Whoops. Just split that one there. Never mind. That will be mended in a minute. Just get that to overlap a little bit there. Right, again in the centre, roll out and roll out. That's mended that little split there, so hopefully that will stay put. Yes, it has. I've got these very thin. And then on the edge with the point up in the air, do the same thing again, going round you in little sections like that to frill it. Nobody's going to see that bottom bit, so it doesn't matter that I've torn it a little bit there, because that's not going to be visible when you get the rest of your petals on. It's going to be hidden with the upper layers. So last one onto my hand, roll out one way and the other way. Doesn't matter if they're not all uniform either. Nobody's going to criticise them, even if they do, just say, well, you do it, and they won't be able to do it unless they make flowers, of course. Then but you should never criticise somebody's work, even when they're learning how to do it. It's always better to give them a bit of encouragement and saying well done and keep on doing it. You'll improve with it, because some people are very self-critical of their own work. Right, so once you've got those done, the next thing is to get your bud. What have I done? Have I got it out? Yes, I have. It's there. So get your points down towards you. Pick something up on that one. That's it. It's off. And we're going to glue about half of the petal. Put your bud in the centre, and you're going to bring the first part round, and you're going to take it right round as far as you can get, like you would with a rose centre. right round into there, and then leave that, because what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put another one in there like that at the same level. Now that one wants to tuck in. Whoops. You might be better off laying this down to do it. If you get your petal in like that and take that round like that, and then get your next one. Did I put any glue on that? I don't think I did I? It's a good job you can't tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I didn't put the glue on it. It's still stuck a little bit. And then glue your next one. And then that goes in underneath that to come round here. And that's going to tuck in underneath that one. It's a bit fiddly, you just got to play about with it until you get it just right. Just lift that up into there like that. That's going to come round here. That's going in there, and that's going to come round here like that. It's going to get round there and round there. And then bring it all in at the centre. You might have to play about with this a little bit just to get it as you want it. And if you get something with a long end or something, you can go inside and you can fiddle about with it to get it to go around the way you want to. That's not tucked underneath, that's what's gone wrong there. That wants to go into there like that. And then that comes round there like that. Until you get it into a spiral like that. And then put that to dry. Now you can open that out a little bit. But I'll put it upside down to dry, so I'm just going to put it into some foam on the side here, upside down to dry. Now while that one is hanging there, I'm going to go on to the single one now, and I'll come back to that again in a minute. And I need some white paste now for this. Now with this flexible paste, if anybody that hasn't used it before, you need to give it a really good knead before you use it to get the elasticity into it. Even though you've kneaded it in the first place when you made it, it still needs more kneading, and it does tend to firm up a little bit when you're kneading it, so you can tell when you get into the stage where it's ready for rolling out. Might not have enough there, I'll just put a bit more in just in case, because I'm going to cut 5 petals out with this one. If I've got any left over, that can mix in with the pink to make some more petals for that. Put my camera a little bit further up here, then you can see a bit better. Just knead it by pulling it and folding it back in again. I do it 2 ways. I do it this way, and then if you're putting colour in, then do it the rolling method, folding it over and rolling it again, and folding it over and rolling it again. Which is the other way of being able to knead your paste, which for some people might be easier, especially if you've got arthritis like I have. Right, so once we've done that, I've got some white fat on the board there. We can start by rolling that out. when you make this paste, it's not pure white, and I couldn't find my extra white to put into it. You can put some whitener into your paste when you're making it to make it whiter if you're going to do any white flowers. If you're going to do coloured ones, it doesn't matter so much, but it does change the colours a bit because it's not pure white, so just be careful of that. Just think about it. If it's changing your colours too much, then you need to put some white in it first before you do that. But it doesn't matter that these are a little bit off-white, because they'll look like white flowers anyway. Because like any other colour, there are lots of different shades of white, just in case you didn't know that. I used to work in the fashion business, so I know it's like black. Black isn't necessarily black, there's lots of different blacks. You can't put black of one fabric with black of another fabric because it won't look right. And also with fabrics as well, and we found this once when we got a delivery of trousers from a well-known firm, that to save material they'd cut the material the other way, so when they put the trouser legs together, it looked as though one half of the leg was a different colour to the other half because they'd turned the fabric round. So anybody that does any sewing will probably know that. Sorry, I just needed a drink. Right, so I'm going to use the large petal cutter to do the where's my base that I'm using? Is it that one? No, it's not that one. It's that one. Right, so I've put that to one side, and I'm going to cut out 5 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see by my board, there's 2 different sort of whites there. That's white, that's a different kind of white. That's a different kind of white as well, you know, so something that you need to learn about when you're dealing with colours, that there are different types. So if you get your petal onto your palm of your hand like that, get your silk veining tool, from the centre, roll out, stretching your paste and roll out. You notice I'm not thinning the edges with the ball tool or a dog bone tool, because I'm frilling it with this. You don't need to. You could do it down the side of the petals if you wanted to, but it's not totally necessary because it's not going to be seen anyway. If you were doing a competition, then yes, you probably would. And then again, like I did before, frill the edges of the petals. So that's one. So I'll get my pad, which is a different shade of white. Just thought I'd put that in. It's my northern sense of humour. Roll out, right up to the edge. Make sure you get that right up to the edge, and then thin your edges. Doesn't matter if your petals get a little bit misshapen on one side, don't worry about that, because when you get them in you won't see that. I watched somebody well known on YouTube doing a video of this the other day, and he was doing his petals without any cutters, so they were all misshapen anyway, but once you get the flower together then it's right. I just didn't like the way that he did his centres, because they weren't like mine, shall we say. Does some beautiful flowers, but I just do not like the way that he did his Lisianthus. Mine is more botanically correct than his, let's put it that way. And it wasn't Alan done, because his are always botanically correct, right down to the finest detail. Could be a competition this, couldn't you? Watch all the videos on YouTube of people that do Lisianthus and see if you can find out who it is. Whatever you do, don't tell them. They might not like it. They might not like some of the things that I do, the way that I do them. But I mean, everybody's got their own way. There's no right or wrong way if you're doing it. If it looks like the flower that you're aiming to do in the first place, that's fine. But if you get people commenting, like somebody did on a wedding cake that I did, some flowers I did for a wedding cake, and the guests think that they're real flowers, there's no way those are made out of sugar, then you know you've done a good job. Right, so that's the petals made for them. Now if you could, if you wanted to, let these dry a little bit before you go on to the next stage, but when you're doing a video, without stopping and starting, if I want to get it done and get it online, then I need to get on with it and put everything together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn that upside down to put the petals on. So I'm just going to turn all the petals round so that I've got the points facing me, and I can see somebody shouting in my ear, why don't you just turn the pad round? Well, I could have done, couldn't I? But I thought it'd just be awkward. Right, so I'm going to glue down one side of each of the petals. Make sure that you've got the bottom bit there, so that's where it's going to have to stick. But these are, you need to glue down the side, so where they overlap you can stick the petals down. So just at this point in time, just attach the petals to the base of that underneath, and I'm just going to pinch that round there, but remember to leave this loose here, because we're going to go around like you would with the rose. So your base of your petal goes next to that, and it just overlaps where it falls, and you can just push that in. I'm just making sure you can see what I'm doing on. I keep forgetting to look up at my camera, but I am being a little bit more vigilant today. Big word for a Sunday afternoon, isn't it? Now I'm going to lean that back this way so this petal falls back, so that the last petal I've got here I can pop in under there like you would with the rose, and bring that round onto there like that. First thing you need to do is to pinch, make sure all your petals, these are sliding down a little bit, so just pull them back up again and make sure they're all up to the wire like that. This is why you need that piece to be dry underneath. Then if you get it in your hand like that and bring it up, you can open out your petals a bit. Now you're going to have to hang it upside down to dry, so those are going to fall back again. So you just need to keep coming back at it and folding them up. And when you get them up, what you can do is you can go around and pinch your petals so that they stay in shape like that, and pinch them out. But for now, that needs to dry upside down So I'm just going to bend that over and stick that into my foam. Just in case you can't see what I'm doing, I've got a piece of foam here and I've put them into the side so they're hanging down. Right, now then, going back to the pink one that I did the swirly centre in, I'm just going to come back to that, and I'm going to cut out another 3 petals for that one. I don't know whether I'll get 3 out of this paste, but I'm going to try my best. Whoops, without having to make some more, a bit more white fat on the board. Move that wire out of the way. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to get enough out of that. So what I need to do is I need to which is the palest pink. I've got some pink left over that I did from the ranunculus that I did. Is that it? Yeah, that'll do. I'm just going to add some more white paste into that. I think I should have enough white in that. Yes, and put that bit in that I had left over there. Mix that in with it, don't waste anything. Mix it all together. Now it's starting to stiffen up a bit the way it is, because as I say, your white paste, if it's just freshly made, is going to be quite soft. Right. With all these paste, don't be frightened of getting it really thin and rolling it well out. Put a bit of the darker pink up there from somewhere I've got a crumb, because it's very stretchy, and some people do the paste quite thick. Even in competition, I thought sometimes people's petals are too thick, but the judges say as long as they're thin on the edges, they're alright with that. But as somebody that's made flowers a long time, I don't like thick petals. I like them to look as realistic as I can get them. Within bounds as well. I mean, you have to bear in mind as well, if you're doing them for customers like I've done, you've got to think about the cost and the time and everything else. But it's like everything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the faster you'll get. Right, so I want 3 petals out now. Out of that. When I've done these petals onto this, it will bring me up to this stage that I've got here, and then I'll put my next petals onto that. So onto your hand again. Same method, roll out and roll out onto the edge of your finger and thin the edges. I suppose if you're doing this sort of method where you're doing petals like this, when you've frilled all this out, they're going to look very thin on the edges anyway, even if you have got your paste a bit thick. But I just like the petals to look a bit more natural. Get that onto there. Probably the teacher in me that's thinking about that. Last one in that set. You'll probably take a bit more time at it if you're doing it for the first time, but obviously I'm a little bit faster at doing it. I did it slowly to start off with so that people can get the gist of what I'm doing. Right, so again, with your flower upside down, turn your petals round. I'm going to glue the bottom half again. If you're not as quick as me, just glue one petal at a time, because it does have a tendency to soak in. And then what I'm going to do now is get your petals to cross over the petal before, although it's not essential, and then just go around again like that. Try and keep them even so that your last one is going to go in underneath the first one there, underneath that one, round there, like that. Bring that round like that. Make sure those are securing at the bottom. That one slid down a little bit, so we'll just pull that one up again into there like that. So you've got to that stage now, and again you can open these out as you go on, as it dries, but you need to put it upside down to dry. Just make sure that these petals at the bottom here are so securely attached, because first lot I did, they actually slid off. I'd left them overnight, but if it's during the day when it's quite warm, is the best time to do it. If you do it in the morning, then leave it all day, then put that into your foam and leave that. Right, so then the next stage is, we've got one here that's got all of those 2 layers of petals in. That's already dried as that one. Need a bit more white fat on that. Move that out of the way. Then we want 5 petals, again using the same size cutter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take your excess away. And we put that paste away now. Excuse me, I've just got a bit of a chesty cough. Then you treat your petals in the same way as you did with the previous layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first part of each petal and put it straight onto my pad for now, and then I can come back and fill the edges once I've got all these done. It's up to you which way you do it. I mean, the thing is, with this flexible paste, you have a long time to work with it. If you're using normal flour paste, then I would recommend doing it all in one go. Because it does tend to dry out a lot faster. Right, I'm just going to put my camera up a little bit more this way for this bit so I can sit back, because my back's killing me at the moment and I need to sit back in my chair to do this. So again, onto the edge of your finger and then in small sections, using about the middle of the silk baking tool, but make sure you get the veins going in the same direction as the first layer that you've done on them. They don't have to necessarily match up, but they need to appear to be all going in the same direction, so it doesn't look as though you've done it separately. It looks as though it's naturally like that. And there's a lot of flowers that you can make that you can do this instead of buying all the veiners and that. Nobody looks at the veining so closely on flowers that you've made anyway. They probably wouldn't be able to tell whether it was the right vein in that, unless, as I say, I've said before, a horticulturist who knows everything about flowers, and depends how close they're looking, but really it's the overall effect that you get. Sometimes we have to, as I've said before, bend nature a little bit is a one word for describing it. To make things look realistic, because sometimes when you do them in sugar, we can't always mimic nature exactly because it doesn't look real. Sometimes we have to play around with it. It's a bit like an artist painting a portrait. They have to play around with colour to get things to look natural. Now what you could do with these, if you were making this flower, is make these petals up first and then leave them in some foam to dry a bit before you put them on, so you get them to stay more in shape. Now I did that with the white one that I've done here, which I've got for colouring later. Right, so that's the petals made. Then again, we're going to turn it upside down. I'll turn my pad round this time, it's easier than turning them all around, isn't it? Should have done that in the first place. So again, I'm going to do a bit at the bottom and down one side. The same as we did with the single flowered variety for this layer. Attach your first petal. Doesn't matter where you start with this layer. Get that right up to the wire like that, and then start going round this way. This is about a bit like doing the last layer of your rose, making sure that your petals go up to the wire, and you're just putting the points next to each other and they just sort of fall into place, in the right place. Open that up so the last one can go in like that, into there, round there, and then bring that one back over like that. Neaten your bottom up so they're in one place, and you can turn it up that way. And again, you can open out your petals, but you'll have to let it dry a bit before you can do this. But if I open it out, you can see what it's looking like, and then put that side down to dry. Right, so the next stage now is to do the calyx. I'm going to use some slightly darker green for this, for the calyx bit. I think I used that one, yeah. So I've got some slightly darker green. Now the calyx on these, again, are handmade. It's not a cut out calyx like you do on some of your flowers. They're very different, they're very sort of wispy. The only way that I can describe the calyx on a Lisianthus. So basically you need small tiny balls of paste. So you want about 5 pieces of paste about the same size. About the size of a large druggie. They're better to be smaller than too big. Right, so we've got 5 there. So start off by rolling it. And then you need to roll it thinner on one end. You need to get it really thin, leaving the thick piece at the bottom. Like that. That's what you're aiming for. So again, roll it on one side. Start off by rolling it like that, and then get onto one end of it and just roll that, and just continuously roll it until you get it as long and as thin as you can, and try and get them all more or less the same size. Needs a little bit more. Yep, that'll do. Here we are. You don't need to flatten them or anything like that. You will flatten the bottom piece when you're attaching it onto the flower, but these pieces you don't need to flatten them. Right, so once you've done that, this is one that's dried already. So I'm just going to put that upside down, and what you need to do, excuse me, is put some glue all the way around the base of your flower, and try and get your stamens to go where the side of the petal starts there, like that, and press that on like that over the join of the petal, and press that on like that. Right up to the wire. Whoops. Oh, I've knocked some off. 2 have dropped off, so we'll just go back in and put them back on again. Right, when you get them all on, just go around it and just make sure that's nice and squashed in, and you'll find that the wispy bits of your calyx, as you press them in, will stand off your flower like that as you press that in. That's got a bit twisted round, just bring that back round that way like that. Right, when you've done that bit, just adjust your calyx to make sure you've got them straight. That's it. And then you want another piece of paste, a bit like doing the hip on a rose. Needs to be about that size, about the size of a marifat pea. Bit more glue on the base of your calyx there around the wire. Then the wire goes into that, up your wire to the base of your flower, and then just shape that round there like that. If you can, try and blend that in. You've got a Dresden tool or something like that, try and blend that into your calyx. That's moved round a little bit, just turn that round a bit. Oops, one slipped. And play around with that. I haven't got time to mess about with it now to get that just right, but we can leave that as it is. So we put that to dry, and then do that on all of your things, even your buds as well. I've done a bud there that I've done the calyx on it as well. On the green buds I didn't put a calyx on it because it's still all green. It hasn't started to open out on that one. But I have got the double one I've got here, the white one. We'll put a calyx on that as well. So I'll just run through that again. So again, you want 5 pieces of paste. That's a bit big, take some off of that. Yeah. Might as well get my other piece ready for the hip part as well while I'm at it. Save time. So that's for the hip part. And then again, start it off in a sausage like that, and then just go on to one end and roll that piece till you've got it as long as you want it to be. I apologise for anybody that's watching for the first time with these videos being very long, but like a lot of people have said to me in their remarks, they like the idea that I'm doing everything in real time. I don't speed things up to make the video shorter, because if you're watching somebody do it, then you need to know how long it's going to take you to do it. I mean, if you're making a spray of flowers for a cake these days and that, I mean, depending on what you're putting in it and how complicated they are, you should be charging anything from £50 a spray upwards, you know, just to give you an idea of, when you think about the hours of work that you put into it, you have to charge for your time. It's not the materials that you're using, that's not where the cost is, it's time. Also skill as well. Right, so again, glue around the base of your flower like that. All these bits where the petals are showing here is going to be all covered up with this, with the calyx now. So you can start putting your calyx in, press that in, see, that's now covered up where all the petals started at the bottom, and then you bit more glue onto there, and you want your ball of paste on like that, and up to the calyx like that. Whoops, dropped one off. Just keep your eye on bits just to make sure that nothing's fallen off. There we are, so that's that done. So the next stage now is to do some colouring. So I'm just going to sort some of my colours out, and I'll be back with you in a second. Right, I'm back for the colouring now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different method that I used in the last video I did for the ranunculus. Normally in most of the videos I've always mostly dusted colour on, sometimes painted it on, and with the video that I mentioned earlier it was painted on, but I thought it looked a bit messy because the colour on the edge of these flowers is very delicate, and you find quite a lot of these white ones with the purple edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sponge method, which basically is putting some colour in your lid of your pots. I don't waste anything because when this dries out you can put it back on your pot and reconstitute it. And then I'm using a piece of foam like that, and I'm just going to use the end of it like that to get some colour on my foam. We'll do it on this one first, and all I'm going to do is just catch the edge of the petals like that. And I think it looks quite, it's a method that I use when I'm doing carnations to put the colour on the edge of the petals. Don't matter if you catch another petal because you're just doing it right on the very edge. See what I mean? Now I think that looks really effective done like just like that. Not overdone, just very gentle. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. I'm just going to add a bit more colour to that. If you manage to get hold of one of these hypodermics with these on their hand, if really good for doing this sort of job. And just go around the edge of the petals like that. If you get the odd smudge, it doesn't matter because they're not all exactly the same. They do tend to vary quite a bit. And no two flowers will be identical anyway. There we are on that one. And then what I'm going to do, I've got a bud here that I've got dry. I'm just going to catch the very tips here on that, just like that on the buds. And then with the pink one that I've got there, just put some, probably got a bit too much powder in there, but there we are. Now you could just it with another colour if you wanted to, and then just go around the edges, but I saw one of these and that I just had a bit of red just on the very edges, so that's what I'm going to do with this one. Making sure I'm not going off camera while I'm doing this. It's very difficult for me to see what's happening up there when I'm working down here. I think that looks really pretty, that. When you put them together like that, look very effective, don't they? Then I've got a pink bud that's dry. Is it that one? Yeah, that one. And again with that I'm just gonna do the edges. I haven't put the calyx on this one. I'll do that later. Just caught a little bit on the very top there on that. So I just want its calyx putting on. Now you could dust the calyx if you wanted. These are still quite soft, so I've got some that are firmed up. Let me have a look. Yeah, some of them are firmed up a bit. I'll try and dust them. I don't want to knock them off after I've gone to all that trouble. Let me just move these colours out of the way. Get rid of my scissors. Green, what am I going to use for that? I'm going to use some ginkgo for that because they're not particularly dark. And a green brush. Knocked my camera then, a bit unsteady here. Last time I was in the last video I think I knocked it over. Oops, keep catching the wire. Ah, there we are, there's a brush. Right, I know they're dry, the buds, so I'm just going to dust just down the back of them. And then dust your hip. That's one. I have got my calyx a bit skew whiff on that one. That's a Yorkshire saying for not straight. Just being careful on this because these are still quite soft. That's that one. And pink one. Might as well finish off the whole job onto. It's normally when they do apparently last for quite a long time in water, do these, so if you get any of these from the florist, they do last a fair length of time. And it's a good idea when you're making sugar flowers, especially one that you haven't done before, if you can get hold of a real flower rather than just relying on pictures, you can get more into the detail with it. As Maureen, who taught me when I first started learning flowers with her donkeys years ago, you'll never look at a flower in the same way. You'll be looking to see how you can dissect it and put it back together again. Just finish that one off. There we are. So I'll just move all these colours out of the way. That's dried up, so I can put the lid back on that. I'm using isopropyl for my colours here, so it does tend to dry up very quickly. You can use vodka, or if for religious reasons you can't use alcohol like vodka and gin and things like that, use the isopropyl. It's the food form of the stuff that they use in hospitals when they give you injections to clean the area up. It evaporates and leaves no trace. So I'll just move those over. So there we are. I've got my just move that round there so you can see that bud. Take that one out, put that in there because you can't see the calyx on that because I haven't put a calyx on it yet. So there we are. We've got the Lisianthus in variegated form, both single and double flowers. So I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway, and you come back to see me in the next one. Don't forget, you can always subscribe to the channel. It's free to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a like, or if you've got any comments about anything that you've seen, any questions you want to ask or anything else, then leave that in the comments section below the video and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So there we are. There's my Lisianthus. Take care. See you soon.